Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to talk like a leader, don't start with your mouth, start with your heart. Because leadership isn't about who speaks the loudest. It's about who speaks with purpose. People don't follow titles. They don't follow positions. They follow conviction. They follow sincerity. They follow someone whose words match their walk. See, when you talk like a leader, you're not trying to impress people. You're trying to impact people. Speaking from purpose, not position, is the difference between someone who talks to be heard and someone who talks to create change. A position might give you authority, but purpose gives you power. Purpose gives your words weight. Purpose gives your presence meaning. When you speak from purpose, people don't just listen, they lean in because they can feel that what you're saying isn't coming from ego, status, or the need to sound important. It's coming from a place inside you that has been shaped by struggle, pressure, responsibility, and conviction. Most people chase the position because they think leadership begins when someone hands them a title. They believe that once they get the role, the microphone, the corner office, or the recognition, then their voice will matter. But titles can be given and titles can be taken away. Purpose can't. Purpose is the thing that follows you when nobody is watching. Purpose is the thing that wakes you up when your body says stay down. Purpose is the thing that makes you speak up even when your voice is the only one in the room. A leader doesn't talk like a leader because they hold a position. They talk like a leader because they are anchored to something much deeper than the role they play. When you speak from purpose, you're not performing, you're revealing. You're letting people see the fire that drives you, the beliefs that hold you up, and the mission that keeps you going. And the world responds differently to someone who speaks from that place. People can feel when you truly mean what you say. They can sense when your words have come from places of sacrifice, discipline, heartbreak, growth, and experience. A person talking from position relies on authority. A person talking from purpose relies on authenticity. And authenticity always wins. Purpose-driven communication is powerful because it comes from alignment. When what you say matches what you do, when your words reflect your values, when your message is connected to who you are, your voice becomes unforgettable. You don't have to force motivation. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to dress your speech with fancy language. You just speak truth. You speak conviction. You speak from a place where your experience has carved depth into your voice. There's something magnetic about that. People follow purpose because purpose inspires belief. Think about the people who have impacted you the most. Chances are, it wasn't their job title that moved you. It was the way they carried themselves, the way they spoke with intention, the way their voice made you feel something: respect, hope, trust, strength, or clarity. They talked in a way that made you want to rise to a higher level. They talked in a way that made you believe you were capable of more than you were currently giving. That kind of influence doesn't come from position. It comes from a deep well of purpose. Speaking from purpose also requires vulnerability. You have to be willing to show people not just who you are, but what shaped you. Purpose isn't born in comfort. It's born in adversity. It's born in the moments when you were tested and you didn't break. It's born in the moments when you had to make choices nobody saw, but everybody eventually felt. When you speak from that place, you give people permission to connect with you on a human level. And leadership is a human experience before it is ever a professional one. A purpose-driven leader understands that their voice isn't for self-elevation, it's for service. The goal isn't to sound impressive, the goal is to make an impact. When you talk from purpose, you communicate with clarity because you're not distracted by the need to protect your image. You're focused on the mission, you're focused on the people, you're focused on the outcome, and that level of clarity cuts through noise like a blade. Every great leader eventually learns that speaking from position can get people's attention, but speaking from purpose can win their hearts, their respect, and their commitment. People might hear a positional leader, but they remember a purposeful one. And the moment your voice starts carrying purpose, you stop talking to be recognized and start talking to make a difference. Owning your story means stepping into the truth of who you are without running from the chapters that made you. It means standing firm in both the victories and the scars. Because every moment, the beautiful ones, the painful ones, the confusing ones, help shape the voice you speak with today. When you own your story, you take back the power that fear, insecurity, and doubt tried to steal from you. You stop hiding the parts of your past that you think make you unqualified, and you start realizing they're the very things that give your words weight. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with honesty. They connect with someone who has lived through something and still found the strength to stand up and speak. Most people are taught to avoid vulnerability. They're told to hide their failures, cover their weaknesses, and only show the polished moments. They think leadership means pretending to be untouchable. But when you suppress your story, you suppress your strength. You end up talking like someone who has memorized lines instead of someone who has lived them. And there's a big difference. A leader who owns their story speaks with depth because they're not trying to impress anyone, they're trying to share something real. And real has a power that crafted images and fake confidence will never match. Owning your story doesn't mean every detail needs to be shared. It means you're not ashamed of the road you walked. It means you stop apologizing for your journey. It means you stop wishing your past was different and start understanding why it had to be exactly what it was. Your story is your foundation. It's the reason you see the world the way you do. It's the reason you fight the way you fight. It's the reason you care the way you care. When you deny parts of it, you deny parts of yourself. And when you deny parts of yourself, your voice loses its soul. There's a certain energy that comes from someone who truly owns their story. You can hear the lessons in their tone. You can hear the resilience in their pauses. You can feel the battles behind every sentence. They don't speak from theory, they speak from experience. And experience carries a gravity that is impossible to fake. People trust a voice that has survived something. People listen to a voice that has been tested. People lean into a voice that has found meaning in the moments that nearly broke them. That is the power of owning your story. One of the most freeing parts of owning your story is that it removes the pressure to be perfect. You're not trying to protect an image. You're not trying to hide behind excuses. You're not trying to speak like someone who has never stumbled. You're speaking like someone who refused to stay down. And that humility, that transparency opens doors for connection. When people hear your story, they find pieces of themselves in it. They start to believe that if you made it through your challenges, they can make it through theirs. Your story becomes a bridge that pulls people closer rather than a mask that keeps them at a distance. Owning your story also forces you to take responsibility for your growth. You don't blame the past, you learn from it. You don't get stuck in what happened, you rise from it. You stop viewing setbacks as stains on your record and start seeing them as chapters in your evolution. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every disappointment becomes part of your message. And when you speak, people hear not just where you are, but everything you overcame to get there. Leadership isn't about having a flawless story, it's about having the courage to embrace the real one. And when you walk into rooms with that level of self-awareness, you speak differently, you walk differently, you lead differently. There's a confidence that comes from knowing you faced your truth and survived it. There's a steadiness that comes from knowing you're not hiding anything. There's a freedom that comes from understanding that your story doesn't disqualify you, it prepares you. Owning your story is one of the most powerful things you'll ever do, because once you accept everything that shaped you, nothing and no one can use it against you. Your voice becomes undeniable. Your presence becomes authentic. And your message becomes something people don't just hear, they feel. Putting people first means choosing to value humans more than tasks, titles, appearances, or achievements. It means refusing to let your ego speak louder than your empathy. When you put people first, your communication changes. The way you listen changes. The way you lead changes. You stop seeing people as tools to reach a goal and start seeing them as the reason the goal matters in the first place. A leader who puts people first talks in a way that makes others feel respected, seen, and understood. They don't just speak to give instructions, they speak to build connection. Most people enter leadership thinking the role is about being in front. But the truth is, real leadership is about lifting others up. When you put people first, you begin to understand that your words carry weight. They can build someone or break someone. They can ignite confidence or plant doubt. Leaders who put people first are intentional with their words. They speak in a way that recognizes the humanity in the person standing in front of them. They understand that every person they talk to has battles they're facing, dreams they're fighting for, and fears they're trying to hide. Putting people first requires humility. You have to be willing to step back and ask yourself, how would I want to be treated in this moment? How would I want someone to speak to me if I were in their shoes? Leaders who put people first don't lead from a pedestal, they lead from a place of compassion. They don't use their voice to dominate, they use it to support. They don't communicate to show how much they know. They communicate to show how much they care. And that shift makes all the difference. When you put people first, you listen differently. You're not just waiting for your turn to talk. You're not trying to win the conversation. You're trying to understand. You're trying to make the other person feel valued. And in a world where most people are just waiting to be heard, that kind of listening is rare. It makes people trust you. It makes people want to follow you. It makes people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. There's a certain power that comes from a leader who genuinely values people. You can feel it in the way they speak. Their tone is steady, their presence is calm, their message is consistent. They don't talk down to people. They don't rush through conversations. They don't treat others like distractions. They speak to people like they matter because they believe they do. And whether they are talking to a CEO or a janitor, their respect stays the same. That level of consistency creates a culture where people feel safe, appreciated, and motivated to give their best. Putting people first also means giving others the benefit of the doubt. It means choosing patience over judgment, curiosity over assumptions, and kindness over convenience. A lot of leaders forget that people are not machines. They get tired. They get discouraged. They have off days. They make mistakes. When you put people first, you recognize their effort even when their performance isn't perfect. You talk to them in a way that reminds them they're capable, not disposable. That kind of leadership builds loyalty. It builds belief. It builds teams that don't just work for you, they work with you. A leader who puts people first understands that influence is not earned by intimidation, it's earned by connection. People don't give their best to leaders who belittle them or ignore them. They give their best to leaders who see them, leaders who appreciate them, leaders who treat them with dignity. And when you speak to people with that level of respect, you create an environment where people want to grow, contribute, and belong. Putting people first doesn't mean avoiding tough conversations. It means having those conversations with empathy. It means correcting without humiliating. It means challenging someone without crushing their spirit. When you truly value people, you hold them accountable because you believe in their potential, not because you want to assert your authority. Your words become a tool for growth rather than a weapon for control. At the end of the day, leadership is not measured by how many people follow you, but by how many people feel valued because of you. When you put people first, your leadership becomes bigger than your job. Your voice becomes a source of strength for others. And the people around you don't just hear you, they trust you, they respect you, and they rise with you. Communicating with courage means being willing to say what needs to be said, even when your voice feels heavy, even when the room feels tense, even when the truth might shake the comfort of the moment. It means refusing to let fear choke your message. It means understanding that leadership isn't about avoiding difficult conversations. It's about stepping into them with honesty, clarity, and heart. Courageous communication is not reckless communication. It doesn't come from anger, ego, or frustration. It comes from conviction. It comes from a deep belief that growth requires truth, and sometimes truth requires discomfort. Most people speak from a place of safety. They choose words that won't upset anyone, decisions that won't challenge anyone, and conversations that won't force them to confront anything real. But leaders don't have that luxury. Leaders are responsible for direction, for integrity, for accountability, for progress. And those things require courage. You can't correct what you're afraid to confront. You can't guide a team if you avoid telling them the hard things they need to hear. You can't build trust if you're not willing to be transparent. Communicating with courage means choosing the path of honesty even when the easier option is silence. When you communicate with courage, you speak from a place that puts the mission above your comfort. You don't sugarcoat reality to make people like you. You don't hide the truth because it's inconvenient. You don't avoid difficult moments because you fear judgment. You understand that avoiding the truth protects feelings in the short term, but damages trust in the long term. Courageous communication means that you care enough about the people around you to be real with them. It means you refuse to let temporary discomfort stand in the way of long-term growth. Communicating with courage also means being willing to admit when you're wrong. That is one of the hardest forms of courage, to look people in the eye and acknowledge your mistakes. But leaders who can say, "I got it wrong and I'm going to fix it," become leaders people respect. Because courage isn't just about speaking the hard truths to others. It's about speaking the hard truths to yourself. It's about being honest with your own flaws, your own blind spots, your own limitations. When you communicate with that level of humility, your voice gains credibility. People will listen to someone who takes responsibility more than someone who pretends to be flawless. Another part of communicating with courage is telling people the truth, even when you know they might not want to hear it. Whether it's giving feedback, setting boundaries, or correcting behavior, a leader must be willing to step into difficult conversations with the intention to help, not hurt. Courageous communication is rooted in love and respect. It's never about tearing someone down. It's about holding someone to a higher standard because you believe in their potential. It's about saying, "I see more in you than what you're giving right now." When people know your intentions are pure, even the tough conversations feel like growth instead of criticism. Courageous communication also requires emotional control. It means speaking truth without letting anger take over. It means staying steady when emotions around you are chaotic. It means delivering a message with firmness but also compassion. This balance is what separates courageous communication from aggressive communication. Aggression tries to dominate. Courage tries to elevate. Aggression pushes people down. Courage pushes people forward. When you communicate with courage, you give others permission to do the same. You create a culture where truth is valued, where honesty is not feared, where people know they can speak openly without being punished for it. And that kind of environment leads to stronger teams, deeper trust, and clearer direction. People stop guessing. People stop hiding. People stop working in fear. They start working with purpose. The most courageous leaders understand that silence can be more dangerous than confrontation. They know that unspoken issues turn into bigger problems. They know that avoiding the truth today creates twice the work tomorrow. They know that leadership is not about protecting your comfort zone, it's about protecting the mission, the culture, and the people. Communicating with courage means stepping into conversations that matter, even when they feel heavy. It means being a voice of truth when others are choosing the safety of silence. It means standing firm in your values and speaking from a place of integrity. Courageous communication is not always easy. It may cost you comfort, approval, or temporary peace. But what it gives you in return, trust, respect, alignment, and progress, is far more valuable. When you communicate with courage, your voice becomes a tool for transformation, and the people who hear you don't just listen, they grow. Leading with consistency means showing up the same way whether the world is clapping for you or completely silent. It means your values don't shift based on who's in the room, and your standards don't change depending on what's convenient in the moment. Consistency is the foundation of trust. People may admire your talent, they may respect your skill, they may appreciate your charisma, but they only trust you when they know what to expect from you. Leadership without consistency becomes unpredictable, confusing, and unstable. Leadership with consistency becomes reliable, steady, and strong. When you lead with consistency, your actions and your words align in a way that makes people believe in you even when circumstances around you are uncertain. Most people can be great on the good days. They can be disciplined when everything is going their way. They can be positive when the environment is comfortable. But consistency shows itself in adversity. It shows itself when you're tired, discouraged, overlooked, or under pressure. How you show up in those moments defines your leadership far more than how you show up when everything is smooth. Leading with consistency means having the same work ethic, the same focus, the same integrity, and the same effort whether you feel like it or not. It's doing what needs to be done, not because someone is watching, not because there's a reward, but because it's who you are. When you lead with consistency, your voice carries more weight. People don't question your motives. They don't wonder if you mean what you say. Your presence becomes stable ground for others. They know that if you say you're going to do something, it will get done. They know that your standards don't waver. They know that your expectations don't swing wildly with emotion. Consistency doesn't mean perfection, it means reliability. It means people can count on you even on the days when you're not at your best. Leading with consistency also means practicing what you preach. You can't tell people to show up early while you're always late. You can't tell people to stay disciplined while you cut corners. You can't tell people to do the hard things while you choose the easy ones. Hypocrisy kills leadership faster than failure ever will. When your actions contradict your message, people stop listening. But when your actions reinforce your message, people take your words seriously. They feel the sincerity behind them. Leadership becomes less about talking and more about demonstrating. And the example you set becomes louder than any speech you could give. Consistency is also about emotional steadiness. It doesn't mean you can't feel frustrated, disappointed, or overwhelmed. It means those emotions don't change how you treat people. It means you don't let your team feel the weight of your mood swings. You don't inspire one day and tear down the next. You don't encourage someone today and ignore them tomorrow. People can handle truth. They can handle challenges, but they struggle to follow instability. When you lead with consistent emotional presence, people feel safe around you. They know they won't have to guess who they're getting that day. Another part of leading with consistency is being committed to the long game. You don't quit when progress feels slow. You don't abandon your principles because shortcuts look tempting. You don't change direction every time the journey gets hard. You understand that real progress takes discipline, repetition, and patience. Leadership isn't built in the moments of excitement, it's built in the days that feel ordinary. The days when nothing big happens but you still show up with excellence. Those days are where consistency strengthens your character and sharpens your leadership. Leading with consistency also influences the people around you in ways that might not be visible at first. Your steadiness becomes permission for others to be steady. Your discipline becomes a standard. Your reliability becomes a reference point. People start to elevate their own behavior because the example you set makes anything less feel unacceptable. Consistency is contagious. When a leader holds the line, the team holds the line. When a leader stays committed, the team stays committed. When a leader refuses to drop their standards, the entire environment begins to rise. There's a quiet power in a leader who is the same in every season. A leader who stays grounded when others panic. A leader who stays focused when others get distracted. A leader who stays disciplined when others look for excuses. Consistency turns leadership into something people trust with their effort, their honesty, and their belief. They don't just follow you because you're in charge. They follow you because your life proves your message. And when your life backs up your words, your influence becomes unshakable. Speaking life into others means choosing to use your words as fuel instead of fire. It means understanding that every person you meet is fighting a battle you may never see, carrying dreams that feel heavy, and trying to silence doubts that scream louder than their confidence. When you speak life into someone, you become a source of strength in a world that constantly tries to weaken people. You become a voice of possibility in moments where they can only see limitations. You become a reminder of who they are and who they can become. Leaders who speak life into others understand that their words are not just sounds, their words are seeds. And depending on how they speak, those seeds can produce courage or fear, growth or hesitation, belief or insecurity. Most people go through life starving for encouragement. They are surrounded by criticism, comparison, judgment, and pressure. Rarely do they hear someone say, "I believe in you," or "I see potential in you," or "You're capable of more than you think." Speaking life into others means being intentional about filling that gap. It means recognizing that even strong people need to be reminded of their strength. Even confident people need to be reminded of their value. Even talented people need to be reminded of their greatness. Encouragement is not weakness, it is nourishment. It is fuel for the soul, and leaders who know how to give it become unforgettable. Speaking life into others requires awareness. You have to pay attention to people. You have to notice when someone's energy drops, when their passion fades, when their confidence shakes. A leader who speaks life doesn't wait for people to ask for help. They see the signs. They recognize the weight someone is carrying. They understand when silence isn't peace but frustration. They know when someone doesn't need a lecture, they need someone to believe in them when they can't believe in themselves. Sometimes a single sentence spoken at the right time can shift an entire mindset. Speaking life also means calling out potential. It's easy to tell someone what they are right now, but it takes a leader to tell someone what they can be. People don't rise to criticism, they rise to challenge. They rise to encouragement. They rise to belief. When you tell someone, "I see something in you," it hits differently. It gives them permission to aim higher. It gives them courage to take risks. It gives them strength to keep pushing. Leaders speak life by speaking to the greatness inside someone, not to the mistakes on the surface. But speaking life into others doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations. It doesn't mean sugarcoating the truth. It means delivering the truth in a way that builds instead of breaks. You can correct someone without crushing their confidence. You can challenge someone without humiliating them. You can hold someone accountable while still making them feel valued. Speaking life is about tone, intention, and timing. It's about making sure that even when you're pushing someone to grow, they know you're doing it because you believe in them, not because you're disappointed in them. Leaders who speak life understand the power of their presence. The way they walk into a room changes the atmosphere. The way they speak shifts energy. People feel safer, stronger, and more hopeful around them. This isn't because they're perfect, it's because they're intentional. They refuse to let their frustration spill onto others. They refuse to use their voice to intimidate or belittle. They refuse to let negative words become normal. They make encouragement a habit, not an occasional moment. Speaking life into others also means being consistent. Encouragement doesn't matter if it only shows up on the good days. People need it when they fail, when they doubt themselves, when they're disappointed, when they're lost, when they're tired. Leaders who speak life show up with belief even when someone else is struggling to show up for themselves. They say, "I'm with you," when someone feels alone. They say, "Don't quit," when someone feels empty. They say, "You're built for this," when someone feels weak. And those words have the power to lift someone out of moments that could have broken them. The truth is, You never know how far your words travel. A sentence you forget in 5 minutes might replay in someone's mind for 5 years. A moment of encouragement you offer without thinking might become the moment that saves someone from quitting. When you speak life into others, you plant something inside them that grows long after the conversation ends. You create strength where there was doubt. You create hope where there was fear. And you create belief where there was insecurity. A leader's legacy is not measured only by achievements or success, it is measured by the lives they lifted. And when you speak life into others, you leave people better than you found them. Your presence becomes a blessing. Your words become a gift. And your leadership becomes something people don't just respect, they feel.